जो जूते बना रहे हैं उनके अलावा हम लोग फोर्सेस के लिए भी जूते बना रहे हैं, जो कि कंप्लीट रेंज है नेवी के लिए, आर्मी के लिए, एयरफोर्स के लिए, रेंजर्स के लिए और पुलिस के लिए। इसके अलावा सर्विस इंडस्ट्रीज पाकिस्तान में कुछ और चीज़ें भी बना रही है जिसके बारे में बहुत कम लोग जानते हैं। हम लोग आर्मी के लिए सियाचिन में जो शूज़ इस्तेमाल किया जाता है, के शूज़, वो भी बना रहे हैं। इसके अलावा हम गैस मास्क आर्मी के लिए बना रहे हैं, जो पाकिस्तान में सिंगल सोर्स है आर्मी के लिए। इसके अलावा हम लोग अल खालिद और अल ज़रार के लिए कुछ रबर पार्ट्स भी बना रहे हैं। रिसेंटली हमारा एक जेवी हुआ है चाइना की एक कंपनी लॉन्ग मार्च के साथ, और पाकिस्तान में पहली दफ़ा ट्रक बस रेडियल के जो टायर मुतारफ करवाए गए हैं वो भी सर्विस ग्रुप की तरफ से करवाए गए, सर्विस लॉन्ग मार्च की तरफ से। इससे पहले ये सारे टायर पाकिस्तान में इंपोर्ट किए जाते थे। पाकिस्तान में मार्केट साइज ट्रक बस रेडियल का तकरीबन 2 मिलियन के करीब है एक साल में, और हम लोग जो प्लान करके इस पाकिस्तान में ये फैसिलिटी लेके आए हैं, हम इंशाल्लाह थर्ड फेज में आज से 2 या 3 साल बाद 2.4 मिलियन की कैपेसिटी एक साल की बना रहे होंगे। और मार्च में ये इनॉग्रेट हुआ है, और इस वक्त हम लोग अमेरिका को ये टायर पाकिस्तान से बना के एक्सपोर्ट कर रहे हैं, जो कि पाकिस्तान के लिए एक फ़ख्र की बात। आइडियाज़ के हवाले से मैं ये बात करूंगा कि ये बहुत अच्छी एक्टिविटी है, क्योंकि यहाँ पे बहुत से ममालिक से लोग आते हैं, आइडियाज़ एक्सचेंज होते हैं, नए प्रोडक्ट्स के बारे में पता चलता है, और दुनिया को ये जानने में आसानी होती है कि पाकिस्तान भी बहुत सी चीज़ें अपने मुल्क में मैन्युफैक्चर कर रहे हैं। नो डाउट एक बहुत अच्छी अपॉर्चुनिटी एक्सपोर्ट के लिए भी है।
I would like to start with extending my thanks, and I would also like to say Assalamu Alaikum to all the dignitaries, delegates, members of the forces, our Chief Guest, Vice Admiral, our Chief Guest Admiral Shahid Karimullah Saab, DG Nima, Vice Admiral Ahmed Saeed Saab, and members of the business community, all others present over here, Assalamu Alaikum, and thank you for granting me this audience today. I will be talking about the challenges of our shipping industry from a private sector perspective and how that relates to other stakeholders. The area of focus of this presentation is the energy supply chain. And the reason why I have chosen this topic is because I truly believe that energy is the biggest security factor for any country, especially a country like Pakistan that is heavily dominant on and reliant on energy that is being imported. Our energy comes from crude oil, from LNG, from coal. We do have indigenous local sources that we are developing, and I hope that goes on and becomes a good percentage of our energy mix. But as of today, we are a nation that imports the bulk of its energy and is reliant on imports. And that import is done through the shipping routes, through the shipping supply chain. And if we resolve those inefficiencies, some of the inefficiencies, and we are also able to capitalize on our existing shipping infrastructure, on its utilization, we can make our energy mix and our energy supply chain much better, and we can be operationally and economically efficient in managing our energy. As you already know, energy impacts all of us, from the gas in our cooking stoves, to the petrol in our car, to the gas and other sources of energy that we need to run our industries, to run our Navy fleet, to run our jets, and so on and so forth. So it is a very important factor for any nation. That is the reason why I have chosen this topic. I will be giving a few examples that will show us two sides of a coin about how we are, it will show us why we are inefficient in some ways, and how, on the flip side, by taking some small measures, we can become much better and much more efficient. So, first of all, I would like to just present the impact of a inefficient energy supply chain, or the impact of high energy costs, let's say. So there are three components to the energy supply chain, broadly speaking. One is the product. The product is imported and its price is driven by international markets. That is not something that is in our control. The second are shipping costs, which is something we can control because a lot of our energy can be transported through the Pakistan National Shipping Company and its fleet, and we can manage our shipping costs in that way. I'll come and address that point later in the presentation. The third part is the supply chain, the berths, the storages, the discharging methods, the pipelines, the connectivities. These three make up the energy supply chain, broadly speaking. So a high energy bill translates into inflation, into a current account deficit, where we face devaluation, where we face inflation because of the devaluation, and that leads us to a certain sort of debt crisis every now and then, and also encourages hoarding because there is an imminent or shortage of commodities and energy products, and that leads to a certain sector which hoards the current inventories and aggravates the situation rather than helps it. So if I talk about the oil import, I'll be focusing on two products in my presentations. I don't want to bore you too much on this Sunday morning, so I will try and keep it simple and not too dry. So I've chosen oil, and I've chosen to speak about coal to give you an insight and a holistic view about what can be done. So if we talk about oil imports, we have two ports mainly that cater to our oil imports: crude oil, furnace oil, petrol, diesel. All of this comes through Port Qasim and Karachi Port. Uh, I'll talk about Karachi Port. Karachi Port has number of berths. We have OP1, OP2, DB1, DB2. They all discharge chemical, petrochemical, and oil cargoes. So we have multiple berths over there. And most of the times we'll find that there are idle berths at KPT for discharging oil and related products. However, the storages in KPT are slightly inefficient. They haven't been developed. The infrastructure, the pipeline connectivities has not been done over the last 10 to 15 years. Now, in contrast, if I talk about Port Qasim has very efficient storages. It is linked all the way from pipeline up to Punjab. It has multiple storages. It has a good mix of storages, but it only has one berth to discharge all oil cargoes. So you see how KPT has inefficient storage, but multiple berths, but Port Qasim has one berth and multiple storages. So the problem and the solution are sort of one and the same, in the sense that if we connect the both ports, if there was some sort of connectivity between both the ports, they could benefit of that synergy. They could benefit of that. Port Qasim does not need to make more storages, and KPT does not need to make more berths. A collaboration, a synergy, a little bit of discussions between both the ports will resolve the problem. So without spending much, we will be able to capitalize and increase the capacity utilization of the existing infrastructure. So that is a little example of how we can go about it. Just to give you a little bit more insight, there are vessels that call on Port Qasim. There is empty storages at Port Qasim available, but due to just one berth discharging one vessel at a time, we have up to 5 to 10 vessels waiting for the berth, incurring demurrages, sometimes to the tune of $100,000 per vessel, sometimes higher. You build that up onto 10 vessels, that's $1 million. And obviously for a country that is working on its foreign exchange reserve, such a situation can be avoided, should be avoided. And there is another port which is not too far away from Port Qasim that has multiple berths. All we need to do is connect them both so we can discharge 4, 5, 6 vessels at one time. We can store our energy, we can be more efficient. Talk about coal a little bit. We are developing third coal, and I think that is a very good initiative. That is something that should go on. It should become a bigger percentage of the overall coal mix. That will help us not be reliant on imported coal, something we should all prefer. However, the reality as of today is that in 2021, Pakistan imported 16 million tons of coal through seaborne routes. And it is expected that with the added power plant capacity and the expansion of the cement sector, this will go up to 25 million tons over the next 2 years. That 16 million tons translates to 290 vessels per annum, approximately. That's 24 vessels per month. And during proceedings of the Supreme Court in 2018, there was a decision was made where all coal imports were destined towards Port Qasim to a single purpose custom built terminal, which is fine. However, that terminal also has one berth It can only discharge one vessel at a time. The time that that terminal was being built, Pakistan imported less than 1 million tons a year. Now we import 16 million tons a year. The capacity is not enough. The vessels, they wait outside during high traffic season, and they incur again damages up to $150,000 per annum, per vessel per day. I'm sorry, and that increases our import bill. And at the same time, another port, KPT, which is an hour away from Port Qasim, has idle berths lying there that can discharge coal, or a purpose-built terminal can also be developed at KPT, or some kind of railway connectivity can be done so that the discharging from the vessel onto the land and forward onto the factories is much more efficient, and we don't pay extra dollars for our energy. So if I was to sum up the gaps, if you realize both the topics that I talked about, KPT, Port Qasim, crude oil, coal, we aren't talking about any new projects that we need to do. The idea that I'm trying to float over here, I'm trying to give a dissected bird's eye view that we have the capacity within the realm. We just need to have a smarter approach. There is a concept of smart hub or smart port, which basically talks about how ports can talk to each other, how they can share data on one dashboard, and they should use that data to deploy their capital in a much more efficient manner. So in efficient capital deployment, where one port has an existing capacity which is idle, and the other port is spending more money to build the same storage facility or the same discharging facility, is inefficient capital deployment. A little bit of synergy that we can build between both the ports, between the authorities, that will help them deploy their capital in a better way and also make themselves much more efficient by building those synergies between themselves. Uh, Another initiative or another drive that we need to focus on is the impact of PNSC, the Pakistan National Shipping Corporation. The Pakistan National Shipping Corporation is is a hidden gem that we must focus on. It is the only company in Pakistan that charges its freight in PKR. We don't have any other. If we want to pay for our shipping costs in Pak rupees, we don't have any other option except PNSC. So PNSC should be supported to increase its fleet so that it can cater to maximum energy import. Its focus is already on oil and crude oil imports that come into Pakistan. It should increase its fleet. We are trying to increase its fleet. We are talking about how PNSC should be allowed to procure second-hand vessels. It should be exempted from PEPRA rules so that it is able to increase its fleet, and we don't have to pay for our shipping costs in dollars. We pay for them in PKR. In fact, if we build excess capacity of PNSC fleet, PNSC will not only be able to reduce our shipping bill, it will be able to bring in foreign exchange by selling its freight and vessels to the foreign market. Also, if we are efficient and we build the synergies between our ports, we would also be able to benefit from low commodity prices. We all must remember when COVID hit, oil went down to $20, coal went down to $40. China and other countries in the region who had efficient energy supply chains, they bought commodities at very low prices, they stored them, and they benefited off them when prices were high. We've seen this same issue with us in LNG. When the prices are very high, we are unable to purchase them, and that leads to a gas crisis. So that is another thing that we need to focus on. The government's part, obviously, a little bit of activism, a little bit of synergy, sharing data, flow of information. I think platforms like NEMA are a great platform where all of these authorities, stakeholders can get together, share their views, help give a holistic view, a bird's eye view, rather than working in small pockets. We can share our information, we can share the data, and we can help spend less and become much more efficient. Also, incentivizing the private sector. And in the private sector, or I would always say that we should support local companies. PNSC is a great example of how a local company is benefiting us for the same services that we could have taken from international companies. That does not mean that we should discourage international investment or JVs, but local companies should be incentivized to build railway routes, shipping routes, terminals, ports, and multiple of those facilities, so that there is more competitiveness, and less monopolization, and the market should become more efficient automatically once there is more competition. So that would be all for me, and thank you very much for your time.
Ideas 2024 brings together stakeholders across diverse defense industries. The 4-day exhibition offers a platform for G2G, B2G, and B2B interactions, joint ventures and investments in defense production sector. A strategic seminar will also be held to facilitate discussions on global challenges within the defense sector. The 12th edition of Ideas will be held from 19 to 22 November 2024 at Karachi Expo Center.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Ahmed Askari. I am business head of Dynamic Engineering Automation. You can see मेरे पीछे आप ये कंपनी देख सकते हैं। हमारे यहाँ पे we are a company जो हम alternate gas solution देते हैं पाकिस्तान में। आपको पता है आजकल के जो गैस है वो पाकिस्तान में नापैद हो रही है। उसी को सामने रखते हुए हम पिछले कोई 10 साल से, उनके साथ 11 साल हो गए, हम ऑल्टरनेट गैस सोल्यूशन दे रहे हैं जो कि एनर्जी नेशनल गैस को रिप्लेस करते हैं। एलपीजी बेस्ड सिस्टम होते हैं। अब तक हम कोई तकरीबन 60 से ज़्यादा इंडस्ट्रियल इदारों में और तकरीबन 10 से ज़्यादा हाउसिंग सोसाइटीज़ में ये गैस का सोल्यूशन दे चुके हैं। जहाँ पर सुई गैस नहीं होती है वहाँ पर हम एलपीजी बेस्ड एसएनजी सिस्टम देते हैं जो कि बिल्कुल उसी तरह से गैस पाइपलाइन में ट्रैवल करती है जिस तरह की नेशनल गैस ट्रैवल करती है, और वैसा ही एक मीटरिंग सिस्टम लगा होता है और इसी बिल्कुल सेम बिलिंग होती है। इसमें से अब तक 8 प्रोजेक्ट हम एसएसडीसी के प्लेटफॉर्म से लगा चुके हैं और 2 प्रोजेक्ट अभी हमारे जो लग रहे हैं वो एसएनजी पे में लग रहे हैं। सबसे बड़ा प्रोजेक्ट हमारा एसएनजी पे लगा रही है गिलगित के लिए। पूरे गिलगित शहर पे हम ये एसएनजी का सोल्यूशन दे रहे हैं। और अभी रिसेंटली कराची में हमने जो प्रोजेक्ट कंप्लीट किया है 8000 घरों के लिए, वो बैरियर टाउन में है, जहाँ पर बैरियर टाउन के तमाम घरों को गैस पाइपलाइन के जरिए गैस मिलेगी और मीटर से जरिए तो उनको बिलिंग की जाएगी। वो बैरियर टाउन का अपना प्राइवेट प्रोजेक्ट है और जो गिलगित का प्रोजेक्ट है वो गवर्नमेंट का प्रोजेक्ट है। आइडियाज़ में भी अलावा इंटरनेशनल एग्जीबिशंस हैं, वहाँ पर भी हम लोग शिरकत करते हैं। पाकिस्तान से बैठ के हम यूएई में और अफ्रीका में भी काम कर रहे हैं।
So my speech today will be about artificial intelligence and its evolution in the defense market. If we can please have the slides. So in the meantime, while the slides are displayed, I could probably engage you that, you know, like you might have heard the word Industry 4.0, and like the manufacturing industry, for example, or in the broad sense, you know, the sense the world works is actually divided into 4 paradigms or 4 periods in which like science has prevailed in different ways. So the most recent one, the Industry 4.0 era, actually it comes after the Industry 3.0 era of robotics. And this one, the current era, which is post 2015, is more about integration of artificial intelligence with all sorts of devices. We keep hearing stuff like Internet of Things, for instance, or big data, for example. We keep hearing about cybersecurity. We keep hearing about so many other areas. And basically, at the back of all this, without artificial intelligence, nothing would actually work, because what do we do with all the data that we collect with IoT, for instance? If there is no AI behind it to actually process the data and take any intelligent decisions, then what's the use of having all that data? Similarly, there are proven examples of, for instance, in medical science, there's research back even in the 90s. This is before the invention of deep learning, for example, that with the normal machine learning, a lot of complex medical problems were actually solved. The third aspect is that artificial intelligence in the current world, in the world of today, is perceived as, most of the applications of AI that we see are in the area of perception. That, for example, we have some data, we're trying to make sense of that data, and we're extracting some information and, like presenting it in a, a way that is useful for humans to actually process or make decisions. The actual manifestation of artificial intelligence is in the form of real life agents and real life things which actually implement AI in the real world. And that is like most obvious when it comes to defense products. For example, we all know about the Loyal Wingman project, for example, for the Air Force, which the US Air Force has. That, for instance, you know that they have already succeeded in flying an F-16 autonomously, right? So the Loyal Wingman project focuses on, a wingman flying with a real pilot, and the plane being totally pilotless. And a lot of the decisions to be taken by the Loyal Wingmen basically depend upon the data, but they're real-time decisions which have elements of all sorts. The implementation of AI can come from search-based algorithms, it can come from logic-based algorithms, and it can come, some aspects of it can come from the machine learning algorithms as well. So AI has a lot of paradigms, and one basically needs to know which paradigm to apply in what sort of a problem, in what way. For this reason, what usually is said is that AI is as good as the mind behind AI that actually writes the program, right? So the more the comprehensive the data is, and the better the mind that is actually writing the artificial intelligence code, that actually, gives us the manifestation of how good an algorithm of artificial intelligence will come out. So taking the privilege of the slides being late and my being able to talk to you freely, I can tell you a little bit about the AI seminar, which has been a big effort with C4I and with Depot, and it's had several legs. So it has two components. One component is today, another component is tomorrow. So the first component, which is today, is with 4 keynote speakers, 2 of them foreigners who have actually made time to come to Pakistan, and like also Dr. Jawad Shamsi is a very prominent speaker from Pakistan side. So it's a privilege for me also to speak here. And tomorrow we're going to have presentation from, it's a competition-like format in which papers and projects, ideas have been invited from all over Pakistan, and people have competed against the project. So it's 143 submissions. From there we came down to 70 after evaluations. After 70, the next stage of evaluation, we went down to 16. And after 16, we have the top 6 basically projects and papers which are going to be presented here. So great effort done by Depot and C4I with some input from the National Center of Artificial Intelligence. And it's good to see that AI, the importance of AI is finally being felt in Pakistan. I always say that in every department in Pakistan, we need at least a think tank which thinks about applications, or you could say technologies which are useful, in the form of including emerging technologies. At the back, automatically there will be artificial intelligence, and there'll be a lot of instrumentations and sensors, etc., which will be integrated in different departments as well. AI is, by the way, not a new area. AI has been around for a long time. I think since there are successful examples of artificial intelligence being applied even as old as the Second World War. And the reason why AI has become more significant right now is the advent of a lot of the computational resources as well. And you could see that there is a lot of new resources are evolving, and the defense technologies are becoming more and more advanced with artificial intelligence now, incorporated in them. So now that we have the slides, let me finally begin with them. So formally, the topic of my presentation today is the evolution of artificial intelligence technologies in defense, the overview of the market, dynamics, and trend analysis. Next, please. Next slide, please. Okay, so a little bit about myself. So I've been passionate about computers and about programming since my early school years. Actually, I started my programming, I think I was in the 5th grade when I started writing programs. And my first attempt at writing a research paper was in the 9th grade in school. So I've been teaching the AI and robotics at NUST. Actually, I founded the Department of AI and Robotics back in 2009 at NUST after my PhD from Japan. And this is the oldest program in artificial intelligence and robotics that exists in Pakistan with this title as well. And right now, I'm the chairman of the National Center of Artificial Intelligence. Next, please. So this is a glimpse of some of the research which predates NCI that I've done. So just to give you an idea which background I'm coming from. So I'm really fond of putting artificial intelligence into real life systems and into machines that actually interact with the real world. For example, the robots that you see on your left and my right, These are the humanoid robots playing soccer completely autonomously. So this is one of my famous projects that was covered in the media a lot. And this was about 6 robots on one side, 6 robots on the other side, and they're completely like playing with each other autonomously without any human intervention, without even connecting to an external computer, with a pre-trained algorithm which we actually train and we feed inside the robot, and they work by themselves to realize where the other robots are, where the goal is, where the ball is, and independently make strategy to actually score a goal and to also defend their own goals. There are technologies for rehabilitation which we have made for Sakura wheelchairs of Japan. And there are other projects, for example, this prosthetic hand project, which we worked with AFIRM. And this one has tactile sensation, which actually gives back feedback to the humans. And actually, on 2 of these, like the soft grasping and the hand projects, we won Best Paper Awards in London and Sydney as well. So the prosthetic leg you see, this is also AFIRM actually. So this is an adaptive leg, which actually adapts to the walking speed of the person. So a lot of other projects like that. This is just a glimpse of the sort of projects that we do. Next, please. So the organization I'm currently leading is the National Center of Artificial Intelligence. This is a competitive grant awarded through the Higher Education Commission of Pakistan. And it's like in 2016, the government of Pakistan issued a call to all the Pakistani universities, all the professors, that everybody, whatever they're doing in artificial intelligence, they come forth. And looking at their research, looking at the background of their work, they awarded funding to 9 labs across Pakistan. I was very fortunate to be one of them. And then again, through competition, select which one person should lead the whole center. So right now, like I'm leading the center as the National Center of Artificial Intelligence. 9 labs are there. And we've also awarded 12 research-funded projects in different domains of artificial intelligence. So we are very applied. We actually implement AI, and a lot of it is deployed in the real world as well. Next, please. So coming to artificial intelligence and its significance. We see that the financial impact of artificial intelligence, this saying from Forbes is actually very insightful, that it is forecasted to add 15.7 trillion US dollars to the global GDP by the year 2030. The main reason is that this technology is general purpose. It has applications that span industries like healthcare, like transportation, like financial services, energy, and so on. Some consider AI to be on par with what we saw with the evolution of electricity in the 20th century. So this is the reason why everybody keeps saying that AI is so significant. Some say that AI is as significant as electricity. Some say that AI is the most important invention that human beings have ever worked on. So another saying, for example, that whoever leads in AI will rule the world. So all this buzz around artificial intelligence, what's so special about it, and why is this the case? And then how does this apply to defense? Next, please. So let me share with you a small quote that I actually extracted from one of the letters which 3,000 researchers from around the world actually signed and sent to the UN. So this is like the quote reads that autonomous weapons which threaten to usher in the third revolution in warfare after gunpowder and nuclear arms will permit armed conflict to be fought at a scale greater than ever and at time scales faster than human can comprehend. So this is the perception about AI right now, particularly with focusing on defense, right? That the scale of the war and also the speed of the war will go behind, completely beyond the way that we've been fighting wars before. And with completely autonomous systems, we've all seen how the Iron Dome has worked in the recent conflict between Israel and its neighbor, like the Hamas as well, the Palestine. And we've seen how artificial intelligence-based systems are real-world systems applied in real life right now. There are others, for example, we've got the Loyal Wingman project, the autonomously flying plane, for instance. We've got Valkyrie. We've got so many other land systems. I didn't show any pictures of naval systems here, but there are autonomous ships as well. There are submerged vehicles too. So there are helicopters. This one, for example, this is like a Black Hawk helicopter. So this is the project Elias. Also, there are like land machines also, this Mars project, for instance, this Black Hermit, for example. So all of these projects actually are autonomous agents that work in the warfare strategy, and they actually also not at just this level, also at the tactical level. I'll come back to that in the next slides. So at the tactical level also, that all these things integrate together. And there is a tactical framework as well with which you can actually, using the AI governance framework, you can actually apply artificial intelligence toward the strategy of the war as well. Next, please. So there are, of course, drones are one example in which artificial intelligence has been applied extensively. And there are so many examples of drones like of course, several of them are teleoperated, but the real manifestation of drone technology is when the planes actually fly autonomously, right? So this is one of the application areas of artificial intelligence as well. These are some of the AI-powered drones. Next, please. So artificial intelligence applies to various segments. Like I've shown you some of the machines that work autonomously within the battlefield. But AI goes well beyond that, actually, some of which you will see as examples in the papers being presented tomorrow as well. So there are, for example, mission-specific battlefield robots. Some of the pictures I've shown you. There are unmanned aircrafts. There's a formulation of the governance of artificial intelligence, AI-based governance framework, and tactical design systems. So there are unmanned vehicles and weapons with hybrid remote operation capability. There is unmanned tanks and UGVs. There are like multi-aircraft coordination and control technology. Then there is autonomous underwater surveillance systems, and of course the marine surveillance systems in general, and autonomous land obstacles and mine detectors. So this is just like some of the aspects of artificial intelligence. Actually, AI extends well beyond that. For example, one of the projects that we are doing, not directly for defense right now, it's mostly for the civilian maritime sectors, is focusing on how, for example, humans are dealing with so many new technologies and why some of the accidents that are taking place with all these automated machines are because of human error, and how we can improve on that using artificial intelligence, right? So AI extends much beyond, the core areas in which there are applications. Next, please. So if we look at statistics, if we look at numbers, right, because there are some analytics involved as well, the market share in defense, particularly for the defense AI market, because this is the depot, this is defense export promotion. So if we look at that, the market is expected to grow at an compound annual growth rate of 13.4% annually. So this is according to the Emergen. And this is actually the software market. If you look at the hardware market of artificial intelligence, because AI requires, computational capabilities to be developed at the same time as well. And now for a lot of, this is probably one of the major applications other than the mobile phone industry, where a lot of hardware is being designed looking at what sort of software is going to be deployed on this hardware to efficiently run that. So in the hardware industry, there's another 13.6% growth, the compound annual growth rate, CAGR, expected for the hardware industry itself. So if you look at, for example, the global market share, so like it's like 28.8% of global market revenue was accounted for that in the Asia Pacific region. But there is, so far, the development of AI is fragmented. It's not in just one place. And actually, Forbes did a very famous article in January 2019 in which they compared the American capability with the Chinese capability and assessed which thing is better where, right? Particularly for like artificial intelligence technologies. So hardware and software both. So next, please. There are other statistics as well. For example, in case of the global newswire, they say that the growth rate is not going to be 13.4%. Their assessment is 12.9%. There are other studies which I did not include in this presentation, but for North America, for example, or certain regions, the growth rate in artificial intelligence actually exceeds 30%, right? So it's like really huge growth. Wherever people are coming, applying artificial intelligence to the industry, so huge growth rates are expected there. So this is what I was talking about, that apart from the development of autonomous and intelligent weapon systems, it is like the efficient information, you could say, retrieval, the deployment of sensors and the information which is coming, back to you, the raw intelligence which comes from the real world data, and also the automation of multi-sensor data fusion and intelligent sensing techniques to leverage better situational awareness. And once you have that situational awareness, then you can get to the tactical level, right? So cloud-based integration of land, airborne, and naval assets into a battlefield management system to leverage tactical capabilities. So this is, also something which is being worked on by artificial intelligence, like developers who are developing systems based on AI. Next, please. So the way AI works actually is that we have at the bottom level, like I think PF Sentaik will relate to it very much, that the way that this AI works is that at the bottom level, there is infrastructure, of course. So like this is the hardware as well as the core software infrastructure in which, for example, you need a lot of data to be fed to artificial intelligence through a lot of sensor networks. You require, this can be mobile, this can be cloud, this can be Internet of Things, the things I was talking about right in the beginning of my talk. Then on top of it, you've got cognitive systems. And then on top of it, you've got applications. So the good thing is that, a lot of applications which are like, for example, application areas that may be particular to defense don't need generation of entirely different kind of algorithms. Like for example, if something has been worked on in the civilian domain, it's also very much applicable to the military domain as well. So for example, if you want to do object recognition or you want to do any activity recognition, for instance, the algorithm behind that activity recognition will be the same, even though it is applied to the military application as well. So we can leverage a lot of things, like there is transfer learning and so many techniques that are available to actually use, the kind of knowledge we generate in one kind of scenario. And actually, this is the reason why some of the game kind of scenarios are generated where multi-agents cooperate with each other. And we actually want to use this scenario for machines in for example, tanks in the battlefield or aircrafts in the air to actually collaborate together, share information with each other, and actually fight in the real world scenario. So if you look at, for example, segments in which artificial intelligence is divided and the impact which comes from different areas, right now 9.6% firms are investing in the data science area, 7.8% in the business intelligence area. Then there are health plans and patient care, computer vision, speech recognition, aerospace and defense industry. So this is particularly aerospace related defense industry. Otherwise, applications of defense are in all, for example, computer vision. So many applications are in the defense industry. So natural languages processing, entertainment, and the list goes on. I could speak for a whole day just on this. Next, please. So coming to the National Center of Artificial Intelligence, let me give you a glimpse of some of the projects we are doing and, with artificial intelligence. And of course, many of them are on the civilian side. And of course, some of them have applications toward the defense side as well. So we have been able to generate the product concepts, and the proposals that we've generated are, 221 so far. And we are touching nearly around 635 million in funding that we've generated during the last 3 years. So the kind of projects that we've done and deployed to reach around that. So we just were inaugurated in March 2018. The first financial releases came in 2019. So you can imagine that it's just 3 years of work that we are actually displaying before you. Next. So one of the major projects, for instance, was collaboration with the Law and Justice Commission of Pakistan to develop artificial intelligence for judiciary. This could be very useful for the military courts as well. So for instance, what we've done is that digitized data from the 70 years history of Pakistan. And whenever a new case, for example, comes in, you can enter some facts about that case into the system. And the most relevant cases from the database, from the 70 years history of Pakistan database, they actually come up. And even if the decision is made directly by the judge himself, like AI, of course, does right now the system AI does not suggest a judgment. So, but even in that case, for example, relevant cases coming in front of the judge can help the judge make a more informed decision, right? Thank you. Next. So I'll just go quickly through the slides. We've been working very closely with Pakistan Air Force for establishment of the CENTAIC, and we have good close collaboration. Next, please. Next. So this is one of our projects which will be displayed in detail tomorrow by one of our contestants in the competition. And this is a Medium.ai. It's a company spin-off from there. This actually looks at all the media channels simultaneously. We know that 5th generation warfare is actually not just in the battlefield, but in every home, right? With the digital devices and television and everything coming into everybody's hands. And this, for example, documents whatever is being said by any person, who is saying what, and all the content analysis behind it, giving you a complete summary of whatever is happening during the day as well. So complete perception of whatever is going on in the media. Next, please. Many of these technologies have now spun off into companies like the last one. And this one, for example, the system where we, for example, detect various vehicles, some of the applications, for example, for parking spaces. Next, please. So this is another one for pickets, for example, like how many suspicious vehicles or persons could any human possibly remember. So this is AI-based system which is actually reading the number plates, actually looking at the make and model of the car, and based on that it can extract which kind of vehicle, for example, needs to be stopped. If a suspicious vehicle comes in, it can relate back with the database and stop that vehicle right there. Next, please. So this is another system, for example, in which you can detect weapons, for instance. This is object detection. You're actually detecting weapons. And on the left and on the right, you can see activity recognition. So for example, one person is crossing, in a different side, like not walking in the direction where everybody else is going. So this is statistical modeling of the dominant motion in the scene. So we can actually predict with a lot of accuracy whenever somebody is doing something different from the crowd. So this is good for mob analytics. Next, please. So this is an example of what we do with the mob analytics. So many persons are there. Whichever persons, for example, are holding sticks are pointed out separately, right? So on the right, you can actually distinguish activity recognition. For example, if two persons are fighting with each other, or for example, a gun is being pointed, because in a real scenario, guards are always going to be carrying weapons, right? So detecting a weapon only may not mean a lot, but something being done with the weapon actually means something, right? So this is why, for example, this is activity recognition. And when the gun is pointed at someone, that's when we raise the alarm. Next, please. So this is like just a glimpse from the lost and found system that we've been able to deploy with the Punjab Safe City Authority. And I'm happy to share with you that in the past year, in one of the very major events that was taking place in Lahore, we were actually able to catch some of the miscreants using the artificial intelligence based face recognition technology, using our completely home developed systems actually. Next, please. So these are medical applications. One system that we've developed for thalassemia detection and assessment. Another one for breast cancer. Next, please. So these are two other systems. Brainways, there's a very popular system for brain like tumor detection and cancer anticipation, lifespan prediction, and also for tuberculosis, COPD, and other pulmonary diseases. Next, please. Just actually, I think day before yesterday, our system has been deployed in the PIMS hospital in Islamabad. So another initiative, which, for example, you should all know about, is the AI TechVerse competition that we organized. So this is initially it was scheduled in these dates, but we moved it forward because of ideas, and it's going to be scheduled, inshallah, in the coming February.